Philadelphia Eagles just walked into enemy territory and made a statement. No more talk, no more excuses. They went into one of the loudest, most hostile stadiums in the entire National Football League and walked out with a gutsy 28-22 win over the Minnesota Vikings. And look, this wasn't just any win. This was a team coming off 2 straight losses, a quarterback under fire, an offense searching for answers, and they answered in the loudest way possible. Jalen Hurts delivered the kind of performance that silences critics, ignites a locker room, and reminds everyone exactly who he is. From the very first drive, the Eagles came out with purpose. They won the toss, took the ball, and chewed up almost half the first quarter on a beautiful 12-play, 75-yard drive. That opening statement was more than just about putting points on the board. It was about setting the tone, playing with confidence, and proving they weren't going to be pushed around anymore. Hurts capped that drive with a laser to A.J. Brown for a 37-yard touchdown, rolling out, buying time, and dropping it right in the bucket. That throw wasn't just precise, it was defiant. And that was only the beginning. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts for a second, because this guy was ice cold under pressure. 19 completions on 23 attempts, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a perfect quarterback rating of 158.3. You want to talk about showing up when it matters? That's elite. That's franchise quarterback level. That's what separates the good from the great. He was calm, he was surgical, and he looked every bit like the MVP caliber quarterback we saw last season. Every single throw mattered, especially in the biggest moments, third downs, red zone, tight windows under heavy pressure. And he delivered. And how about those receivers? A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith were unstoppable, just flat-out dominant. Smith torched the Vikings for 183 yards on 9 catches, including a career-long 79-yard touchdown that blew the top off the secondary. On that play, he just embarrassed his defender with a clean double move, and Hurts hit him perfectly in stride. That was vintage. And A.J.? He made his impact felt early and often, finishing with 4 grabs for 121 yards and 2 scores, including a clutch third-down bomb with the game on the line that shut the door on any hope for a Vikings comeback. That play right there, late in the fourth quarter, with Minnesota desperately clinging to a shot. Fourth quarter pressure, full blitz coming, and the Eagles don't just run the ball and play it safe. No, they put their foot on the gas. Hurts takes the snap, sees the pressure, stands tall, and launches a beauty to A.J. Brown down the sideline. One-on-one double move, cooked his man, and the throw was absolutely perfect. That's the kind of aggressive, fearless football that gets you wins in January. And let's not forget what this performance means in the bigger picture. Coming into this game, the noise around Hurts was getting louder. Everyone saw the second half collapse against the Buccaneers, the disappearing act against the Giants. Even in the win against the Broncos, Hurts didn't look right. He admitted himself his play hadn't been good enough. But that's the mark of a true leader. When things get tough, he doesn't make excuses. He looks in a mirror, owns it, and comes back swinging. And swing he did. This was a different Eagles offense. For the first time all season, it looked like everything clicked. The timing, the spacing, the play calling, it all finally came together. And one of the biggest changes? Putting Hurts under center more. That might seem like a small tweak, but it made a huge difference. It gave the offense more balance, helped the run game, opened up the play action, and made it easier for Hurts to read the field. When you're in shotgun all the time, your eyes are off the defense during the snap fake. But under center, you can scan the field the whole way through. And for a smart quarterback like Hurts, that's gold. You could see the effect that adjustment had on the entire offense. Saquon Barkley, while not blowing up the stat sheet, looked more comfortable. He found some daylight, kept the defense honest, and created the threat of the run. That's all you need sometimes, just enough to make the defense think twice. Kevin Patchello, stepping up as the play caller, deserves credit for dialing up a balanced game plan and sticking with it. The offense still had its lulls. There were stretches of 3-and-outs, failed third-down conversions early on, but the flashes of explosiveness were undeniable. And when they needed plays the most, they made them. Defensively, this Eagles team isn't perfect. They gave up big chunks of yardage. Minnesota actually outgained Philly in total yards. But when it came to the red zone, they slammed the door shut. 1 for 5. That's what the Vikings managed inside the 20. They had to settle for 5 field goals. That's how you win games in the NFL. Bend, don't break. The Eagles were clutch when it mattered. And Carson Wentz? The former Philly quarterback was completely rattled. That pick 6 to Jix Hunt was a disaster. Just a brutal read, telegraphed the throw, didn't see Hunt dropping back into coverage. And boom, touchdown the other way. That was one of several standout defensive plays. Jalen Carter was a monster, blowing up the line and delivering a bone-crushing hit on Wentz. Moro Ojomo stepped up with a huge sack that forced a field goal. Josh Uche made his presence felt as well with a timely sack late in the game. And again, while this defense isn't perfect, they struggle on third downs, give up too many rushing yards at times. They continue to show up in the red zone. That's winning football. And how satisfying was it to see the Eagles target Isaiah Rodgers all day long? The guy was talked up all week as one of the league's best corners, but Philly clearly didn't care. 7 targets, 5 completions, 151 yards, and a touchdown allowed. They went after him repeatedly, and it worked. That's coaching. That's film study. That's execution. When you look at this win, it wasn't just about the final score. It was about how it happened. It was about the response to adversity, the bounce back after 2 tough losses, the message sent to the rest of the league. The Eagles are not going away. This is a 5-2 football team that just knocked off one of the most physical defenses in the league, and they did it on the road. The offense was explosive. The defense made plays when it mattered, and most importantly, their leader, Jalen Hurts, showed up in a massive way. You could feel the energy shift. From the opening drive to that final dagger to A.J. Brown, this felt like a turning point. And maybe that's exactly what it was. Maybe this is the performance that sparks a run. The Giants are coming up next, and you better believe this team remembers what happened a couple Thursdays ago. They were embarrassed, and now they've got momentum. They've got confidence. They've got their swagger back. Jalen Hurts said it best, walking into the locker room. We ain't losing no more. That's the mindset. That's the mission. And if this version of the Eagles shows up every week, the rest of the NFC better watch out. While the spotlight rightfully shined on Jalen Hurts and his dominant offensive performance, there were so many other layers to this Eagles victory that deserve attention. One of them was the shift in offensive mentality. From the very first snap, it was clear that the Eagles weren't just trying to survive this game. They were trying to dominate it. Going for it on 4th down twice during that opening drive wasn't just aggressive play calling. It was a message, a statement that they were tired of playing timid, tired of playing reactive. This time, they were taking control, dictating the terms, and forcing Minnesota to respond. That level of boldness was missing over the last couple of games, especially in the second halves, where the offense would sputter out and fall into predictable patterns. Against the Vikings, though, that switch was flipped, and it changed everything. The coaching adjustments played a huge part in this turnaround. Kevin Patullo and the offensive staff leaned into their strengths while making just enough tweaks to keep Minnesota guessing. Using Hurts under center more often was a subtle shift that paid big dividends. It gave the running game a different look, it allowed for deeper play-action concepts, and it gave Hurts cleaner reads post-snap. For a quarterback with a sharp mind and quick processing like Hurts, that structure helped. You could see it in the timing of his throws. You could see it in the rhythm of the offense. And that throw he dropped to Devonta Smith on the 79-yard touchdown, that was the kind of deep ball timing we hadn't seen in weeks. He trusted what he saw, trusted Smith to beat his man, and let it rip. The offensive line, even while not perfect, deserves credit for giving Hurts enough time to make those deep throws possible. This Vikings defense, under Brian Flores, throws a lot of exotic blitzes and disguises. It's a scheme built to confuse and pressure quarterbacks. But for the most part, the Eagles' offensive line handled it. And when they didn't, Hurts bailed them out with smart movement in the pocket, quick decisions, and a few highlight-worthy escapes. That blend of mobility and discipline is what makes him so dangerous. He's not just running to run. He's running to create time, to open windows downfield, to give his receivers a shot. That play on the first touchdown to A.J. Brown where he extended the play and motioned AJ up the sideline before delivering a perfect strike. That was vintage Hurts. The kind of improvisational play that reminds you why he's one of the best quarterbacks in football when he's locked in. And A.J. Brown? This guy continues to prove why he's one of the most physically dominant wideouts in the league. He makes the hard catches look easy. He bullies corners. And when you leave him one-on-one, especially against someone like Isaiah Rodgers, who came into the game with hype but left it exposed, you're asking for trouble. That second touchdown catch was the dagger. It wasn't just the route or the move. It was the timing, the guts it took to call that play on third down, the poise from Hurts to deliver it under pressure, and the concentration from A.J. to finish it. That was championship-level execution. But for all the fireworks on offense, what made this win feel so complete was how the defense held its ground when it mattered most. No, it wasn't a dominant shutdown performance in terms of yards. The Vikings moved the ball. They had more total offense. They won the time of possession. But every time they got inside the 20, the Eagles dug in. 1 for 5 in the red zone. That is an elite number. And that was the difference between walking away with a win or a third straight loss. Carson Wentz, facing his old team again, looked completely out of sync. His decision-making was shaky. His mechanics were off, and the Eagles took full advantage. The pick six by Jix Hunt was a masterclass in disguise and deception. It looked like the Eagles were bringing heavy pressure with 6 at the line. But just as Wentz thought he had an open throw, Hunt dropped back into coverage and snagged the ball with ease. It was a veteran move from a player who hasn't even been a full-time defender. That play shifted the momentum and put the Vikings in a hole they never really climbed out of. Add to that the interception by Andrew Makuba, where Wentz basically punted the ball into his arms, and that's 2 critical turnovers that sealed Minnesota's fate. The pass rush also showed up in key moments. Jalen Carter delivered a crushing blow to Wentz, reminding everyone why he's one of the most feared interior defenders in the league. Moro Ojomo came up big with a sack that stalled a promising Vikings drive. Josh Uche, a rotational piece, delivered when his number was called. That's what good defenses do. They might not dominate for 4 straight quarters, but when the game is on the line, they make the plays that count. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers have begun circulating around the NFL, and they all seem to point to one name, Josh Sweat. The defensive end, who once made a bold move away from the Philadelphia Eagles, is now reportedly expressing some second thoughts about that decision. Sources close to the player suggest that Sweat has admitted, in private conversations, that leaving Philadelphia might not have been the best career move. The Eagles, of course, have been a team that knows how to develop defensive talent, and Sweat was no exception. Drafted and nurtured in a system that emphasized his speed and versatility, he quickly became a recognizable force on the field. But like many players looking for a new challenge, or perhaps chasing a bigger contract, Sweat opted to test the waters elsewhere, leaving the comfort of the city and the organization that molded him. Now, according to insiders, the star pass rusher is reportedly reflecting on what he left behind. The camaraderie in the locker room, the passionate fan base, and perhaps most importantly, a defensive scheme tailored to his strengths. It's a mix of nostalgia and professional regret, one unnamed source said, hinting that Sweat might be reconsidering his next steps in the league. The NFL rumor mill is already buzzing. Could this mean a potential return to Philadelphia? While nothing has been confirmed, agents and scouts are reportedly keeping their ears open. The Eagles, who have always valued Sweat's explosiveness off the edge, could find themselves in a unique position. A familiar face with the potential to reclaim a dominant role on a defense that has evolved since his departure. Fans are divided, of course. Some argue that it's just the typical grass is greener feeling common among athletes adjusting to new teams. Others, however, are excited at the thought of a possible reunion, imagining Sweat once again terrorizing quarterbacks in green and white. Whatever happens, one thing is clear. Josh Sweat's name has become the center of speculation, and the rumor is showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon. The coming weeks may reveal whether this is just postseason reflection or the start of a saga that could see a familiar Philadelphia hero back in the fold. Until then, the chatter continues, and for Eagles fans, it's a tantalizing mix of hope and what if. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.